That was the loudest start to a voice chat I've ever had with you. Why?
Just saying me all.
I can only imagine your clients talking to you over the phone. I know you don't do that, but I just imagine you do that. I just imagine they do that. They just hang up on you. That's what happened. That's really what happened with your last big money client. They couldn't deal with you and your noise.
Like, you did fantastic work, but it turns out it's just not worth money to have to deal with you.
I'm sorry,
We'd
Jock,
rather
but
be poor.
we cut the numbers. So we got your paycheck on file now, and we're going to end this relationship. Wait, why?
We appreciate that you tripled our.
We can't afford to keep your big mouth on file. What? Click.
we we crunched the numbers, and while your help has tripled our income, we found that the number of people quitting because you work for us has disrupted our business more than it's helped.
But you say I'm helping you get more money. Yeah, well, we're losing more money just from you, just people quitting. How does that work? I don't know. Click.
Oh my God!
You're just losing business after business. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but you're just losing business after business. Your freelance work can't happen. Your wife works to the bone now. You're just at home trying to figure out what's happening to all your clients.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I think I should lose my clients in the most creative ways possible and write a book about it. How to lose a client in 7 days.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a book like that yet.
How to lose a client in 7. I feel like not a lot of people would buy it, Jeremy.
You'd be surprised what people would buy nowadays. You'd be real surprised.
I want to lose my clients. I hate my company.
I bet you're not working for your company anymore.
No, I'm not. That was like a hypothetical person.
Okay, I was say because I really that confused me.
Sorry about that.
That went over my head. It went over my head into my left ear, out my right ear, went back in my right ear, and came out my left ear, and just went on the wall. That's exactly what happened there.
Like a big boomerang that never stops, just goes back and forth forever.
Yeah, that'd be a horrible thought. Granted, that's what happens when music gets stuck in your head.
I have a friend that's checked in a mental hospital, and she had a song start running around in her head, and it never stopped.
Yeah, I hate that feeling.
Isn't it? No, I mean like for months.
Ooh.
Can you believe that?
No, not really. But I guess things are that catchy.
I guess so. It's kind of creepy though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a really fast pre-show. And we're live for episode 5 of the Anime4All podcast. We're now going to be reviewing the next episode of My Hero Academia, and that was a jam-packed episode. Not really jam-packed. Like I said before, I noticed this before with the arcs in this manga. When they adapt to anime, things progress way quickly. I suspect we're gonna be dealing with the next big fight real soon. I haven't seen the preview yet, but I suspect there's gonna be. I'm expecting one fight to happen before we get to the main show, which is Midoriya versus Overhaul. I suspect we're gonna get to Miorio. We're gonna get Miorio versus Overhaul first. I suspect with the way things are progressing, considering that he's off on his own now. That's what I suspect.
I think so too. But one thing that I was really curious about was when they make some comment as they're after they're taking somebody out. I'll have to find it. But early in the episode, this bears on who is going to be in the final fight. They have a moment where they say something like, we're going to get the second of 3. It implies that there's 3 people that they're trying to take out. And I thought that maybe they were talking about the 3 students for a minute. But then it looks like the second target was Eraserhead. Do you remember that part?
I remember when they said that he was the wall dude was going after like he realized after Sun Eater took out his targets and Sun Eater faded. There was some talk happening. I remember the wall guy. Well, before that, Aizawa was mentioning that he's surprised that I'm watching the dub, by the way. So this is all dubbed. What I'm spying out is all dubbed. But from what I understand is that Aizawa was surprised that the guy on the wall hadn't been attacking them more often or shutting off exits. That's when he realized that he must have a limited area of control. But when he said that, granted, I know for a fact the wall guy couldn't have heard him say that. But when the wall guy realized that he couldn't, Sunny Eater was down, and he raced off somewhere. We see him come back, and he's trying to attack Eraserhead, but Fat Gum gets in the way. Because
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to disable Eraserhead because he knows Eraserhead's a dangerous threat. But as for what led to that, I really don't know because it looked like he was definitely attacking Razorhead. It looked like he came to the realization that Razorhead was like a big threat. He tried attacking him, but as for them attacking three people, the only well, the other people I could think he'd be referring to would be um Foresight dude and maybe
I'm checking to
Decker.
see if I misunderstood the quote or something like that. But if they were going for three people, at first I thought since the first one was Sun Eater, that the other two might be the other two UA students,
Well, it
and that
couldn't have
maybe
been
they're
Slater because they
targeting
don't
them.
know what Slater was capable of until he started using his quirk. So it really couldn't have been
Right.
Slater.
But I was trying to figure out who the three targets were, and Sun Eater was confirmed as one, the way it was worded, and I'm trying to find this quote again now. But because Sun Eater was one, and the episode was called Red Riot, I was like, okay, so Sun Eater and then Red Riot's probably the target of this one. And then that would probably make Midoriya the third target because that would make sense from the way the plots in these go. But then
Continue.
I was wrong because it looked like the target for the second one was Eraserhead. So then I didn't know what the pattern was that Sun Eater or Eraserhead and who were going to be their targets. I'm assuming the third one's still probably Midoriya just because that's how the plots are built. But like, I didn't understand why they picked like what Sun Eater and Eraserhead would have had in common that they would have targeted. If they were just targeting Sun Eater and the two other UA students in this group, which would be Red Riot and Midoriya, then that would have made sense to me because I would have thought like they don't really care who they are; they're just targeting underclassmen. You know what I mean? Then we'll probably learn why later. But like when they shot for Racerhead, then I wasn't sure what was going on.
I guess are you looking for that quote? We'll continue on with the with the topic at hand.
Yeah,
During that, like I said before, they attack. Well, he tries attacking Eraserhead. Fat Gum gets in the way, and he gets pushed into a hole in the wall. Now Fat Gums is in a different, separate arena type area. Um, and we see two villains walk up from the shadows. But at first it looks like Fat Gum's in there alone, but we find out Kirishima's also with him, or Red Riot.
yeah.
We find out apparently throughout, which confused me and didn't make much sense. From the way it looked, at least from the dub, it seemed really weird and kind of haphazard the way they had Red Riot show up in that fight. But I think it was really just because they wanted him, they wanted him to be there so they could do a little backstory, a little bit of backstory on him. And I guess they
Well,
figured this is the best way.
the two people with defensive quirks were the two that threw themselves in the way of the attack. So that it sort of makes sense, doesn't it?
I mean, from that standpoint, what I say that is kind of haphazard about the way it seemed like they forced Red Riot in there,
Mm-hmm.
was at least from what I understand, when they were attacking Ozawa, Fagum said he rushed in the way to get in front of him. Now I know Kirishima did that exact same thing, but I'm trying to figure out what was this, how far, I guess, far away was their reaction time, because it seemed like what happened is that the moment that Red Riot started moving, Fat Gum jumped right in between him and Eraserhead, and he just got slammed into him, and that's what sent Kirishima flying. It just seemed kind of weird. It almost seemed to me maybe Fat Gum's reaction was a little bit slower than Kirish. I don't know because it seemed to me it seemed kind of haphazard that way. The way he kind of got trapped in there is because he jumped in there without thinking, and Fat Gum just happened to be in also doing the same exact thing.
Yeah,
Defensive quirks aside, it just seems kind of weird. From like, it seems like you think with the fact that Fat Gum being a pro hero and all, you think that would have been done a little bit better, at least on his part. But at
he's
the
not like a great pro hero though. He's a courageous pro hero, but he's kind of like mid tier at best, or small time.
I would argue not so. I think he's a little bit better than you're giving him credit for. But as we go to that point in terms of like Kirishima and Fat Gum in the fight with the ultimate spear and the ultimate shield, which is really what they were.
But they didn't have a magic helmet though.
No, actually, I didn't think about that. I was listening to watch this episode. I didn't even think about that. But
I was wrong about that quote about 3. I think I just found a quote that mentioned 3, and I think that's the one I saw, and it wasn't the right one. Sorry.
Was it from this episode, or was it from this episode?
Yeah.
Or what was
It said
what
if
was it
those
referring
3
to?
can't do it, they'll take them out one by one. But
Oh,
the
okay.
3 they're talking about are the 3 villains that Sun Eater beat.
Okay, yeah, because we said that's did I miss something when I was watching this episode? Because I thought I was watching it closely, but okay, yeah, but
I was watching it with Jessie, and I paused at that moment and talked about it, and I think she thought that was what it meant too at the time, but it seems like doesn't make sense now.
I guess maybe we'll talk about it later. I don't really know, but you get to these new 2 villains, and we find one who's all out brute strength, and the other one who seems to be a little bit more. He likes to stay back and he likes to throw up shields, which we find that
Mm-hmm.
these two have really strong attack and really strong defense, almost to the point where
Mm-hmm.
even Fat Gum, who I guess from the way Fat Gum was fighting, he's more of a brawler than a I guess a
Finesse.
tank. Huh, what?
Mm-hmm.
He's
Oh, he doesn't have a lot of finesse.
we can't really have finesse when you're punching, but besides that, like he's more of a brawler than a tank. Granted, he has tank
Mm-hmm.
qualities, but
Fat gun?
yeah, Fat Gum. He's more of
Yeah.
he's more of a brawler, but he has tank qualities. While we have Kirishima, who's supposed to be a tank, but we also find out too here, which is that Kirishima. Granted, it makes sense considering he's just starting out and he just made a super move. We find out with that guy with the machine gun punching hands, which is really what that sounded
Mm-hmm.
like when he was punching. Um,
I think he also just didn't underestimated him a little bit.
I guess I mean he was trying to be an
Because they
unbreakable
just,
wall. Mhm.
right, but then when he came up and the second time around and like knew what he was up against, even though he was injured, he took many more hits without getting knocked backwards.
Well, he was.
So
Well, I'm not sure how they displayed it in. I'm not sure how they subbed it in the Japanese, but I know in the during his
mm-hmm,
second phase of being attacked by him, he was just
mm-hmm.
hardening again over and over again. His hardening was constantly being broken, but he just hardened that much faster. So
Right,
like,
but he didn't get knocked backwards into the wall and get so phased. Do you know what I mean? I think he just like there's another time he goes, if there's another barrage like that, then I won't be able to take it and stuff like that. Like he underestimated himself, probably underestimated his enemy. So he wasn't going at what really was his full. You know what I mean? So the second time up, even though he's injured, you know what I mean, or it's hurting him, he was able to push himself and take the front line and take many of the hits that took him out in one shot before. And I think that's because he was he realigned himself a little bit.
I guess we're talking about Kirishima and his personality. We get a little bit more backstory because we get this hinted at during his fight when he first revealed Unbreakable. We find out that I mean I guess I said before like it seems like Ashido and him knew each other going to school. You can say that, but they didn't really interact that much, and they didn't really truly start talking to each other until they went to UA. But the interesting thing about that is that he was when he was growing up, which I guess by the way you got a little bit you got a little showing that Kirishima's hair is not naturally red. His hair is actually black. And I guess the other thing I didn't really notice this until now, but I started picking up on it when they showed his hero, his All Might Red Riot. he pretty much styled his hair in the same way as his favorite hero. Um, so
Yeah.
that kind of shows like there's some serious parallel between Jekyll's admiration for All Might as there is for his admiration for Red Riot. But it's kind of funny because like we see this he brings up Red Riot earlier on in the series, and it's just like one of those. It feels like it's just one of those throw off lines that he said Kirishima has a hero he admires. It's like, well, that's kind of cool, but I guess we won't really delve into that. But we get a little bit of that in his personality in terms of when he was in middle school. He didn't know where he wanted to go. I mean, he thought being a hero was kind of cool. He looked at everybody else
Yeah.
around him. Even thought Ashido, because she wanted to be a hero, which it's kind of weird because I don't know what her reasoning for it is. I guess it's because she's good at everything. She thinks she can do this. Um, well, you see, he sees everybody around, and people don't like think that well of him because of his hardening quirk. Which, by the way, when he was in middle school, his quirk wasn't really that manifested, or he just didn't know how to use it properly. So when he did harden, it was very little. As you can see, he had little chips on his arms, but it wasn't as pronounced as it is now. Where he
Yeah, definitely.
before Unbreakable, it wasn't as pronounced as it was like when we first saw him. So it was like I guess it was one of those things where either he was still learning how to control his quirk, or he just couldn't use it to the extent he can use it now. We also see back to the whole like his hair isn't actually black. He just dyed his hair and stuck it up with hair gel. But we also find out he didn't like his quirk, and he apparently, which is kind of funny, also really sad. When he first got it, he ended up cutting his cornea,
Hmm.
which is
Which explains that little scar that he has on his eye. I thought that was neat.
that's a scar on his eye.
Yeah, there's like a slight little mark on his eye where he cut himself.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Details you find out later. But yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was a cool detail.
yeah.
So another thing that I thought was cool about the fight, as far as like him growing up, like they tell the story of him growing up and everything, and his determination, but they also focus on this is less overtly stated, like they're not telling you straight out this, but I thought it was a nice detail that um, I've always thought that Kirishima's greatest strength, one of his greatest strengths was, and I've mentioned this to you before, his ability to get along with everybody. That he's cooperates with everybody and he's a good team player. And like he's one of the only ones that Bakugo actively likes, and everybody gets along with him. He's friends with everybody. And I thought that was really relevant in this. That is his willingness to be a team player. He got in that situation in the first place by trying unsuccessfully to be a team player, pulling an amateur move and throwing himself along with Fat Gum in front of the thing and having them both take the hit. But once he was down there, like, you know what I mean? He ran support for Fat Gum after he was injured so that Fat Gum could finish off his shot. And that doesn't seem like that big of a deal for him as a team player, even though we've seen other examples of him being a team player in the past. But it's counterpointed by the other two, which I think were proportionately more powerful fighters, and their complete inability to work together. Like the shield guy on the other side was like really cooperative and level-headed and everything, but the other guy was just so unwilling to work with his teammate that they probably didn't do their best. I know that last shot kind of overrode everything because it like blew both of them away, but the cooperative one like was smart about it, and he was like, watch out, that guy's got, he's up to something. And the guy didn't go hey, yeah, and pull back and see if they could talk about it or anything like that. It was just like, he's like, all right, whatever, and he's like, you're awesome, you let me punch you, and he kept punching, you know what I mean, and just like tanking it. But I think that was an interesting counterpoint, how they were immediately trying to work together, and they were calling out, Fat Gum was calling out support to Kirishima, and he was like sacrificing himself to help protect him from the damage. And Kirishima saw that he had a plan, and as soon as he could get himself pulled together, he jumped in to take the front line when it was needed the most and stuff like that. And I just thought that there was a lot of storytelling here about how strong he was as a team player, and how that was one of his big strengths that he wasn't even realizing about himself at the time.
I mean, yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, like I think his quirk kind of like I guess complements his personality because he doesn't give up, and his quirk is essentially him not giving up. It's actually probably one of the more interesting aspects about his hardening quirk because he'll constantly. I guess he's what he's learning is that he's constantly able to. I think he's learning that he can harden even faster, even if he were to get hit. If I were to break, because that is one thing too. Is like when he realized his shield was broken, he kind of like got really upset and got paused there because I think one of his bigger faults is he's comparing himself to people who have powerful quirks that have a lot of force to them. When he should be trying to look at him being the immovable object. Because I think it's like one thing that like I guess that like, makes Kirishima a valuable asset is the fact he's a movable object, which is here. Yeah, after the second hit, when he got hit the second time, he did not move. He literally became the immovable object there.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was awesome.
he took a full punch from a pro villain, and he didn't move the second time. Which yeah, it's like one of those things. Like he constantly sat there and took a lot of the hits. I think I guess as we progress further with Kirishima, hopefully this is what we're gonna start seeing now is that he's starting to learn that he needs to take the idea of becoming that shield and he needs to like
Mhm.
full on take it. Which I guess another thing too. I guess before we move on from him to moving on to Fat Gum, I'd to bring up that his
Before we move on to Facom, I've got one thing to throw out.
I'll say before we move on, I was still kind of focusing on Kirishima,
Okay.
or his admiration for Red Riot. Uh, it's interesting that they bring up that I don't know if this is stated before, but was it ever stated earlier that Red Riot's quirk was similar to Kirishima's?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that was stated earlier. I wasn't sure because like I wasn't sure when I heard. I was like, that's strange. So he has a hardening quirk too. Um, it's kind of weird that they're that similar. So I'm actually kind of curious, like, if there's any real reason behind that besides just being a coincidence.
Well, we see a lot of people with really similar quirks. Like Kirishima has a Class B guy that has almost identical quirk as well.
Yeah, but Kirishima's quirk is obviously superior.
It is, but we don't know how strong Red Riot's is, or if his is superior to Red Riot's and so forth either. I think it's fair to say that like it's common enough to have people with the same quirk. I
I
mean, think
guess.
about it. The same thing with Eraserhead and the girl with the little horns in her head. Like we know that their quirks are at least somewhat similar because the guy straight up says, "Oh, like it's just like her quirk except a little weaker."
I guess I never really thought about it. Didn't really think
Yeah,
about it. Just I thought only thought about it now because I just when I was watching the dub and they basically they actually they spoke it. But you said you wanted to say something before we move on to Fat Gum.
yeah. I thought it was interesting how similar this guy's quirk was with this guy's story was to Midoriya's.
Yeah, I brought it up that they made here it was more evident here because I mean they kind of pushed the idea earlier in season 2 I think when like they're talking about hero names and
Yeah.
Kirishima chose Red Riot. I don't think the guy he admires is Red Riot. I think it's something. It read something. I forgot the name of his the hero that he admires. But because
Mm-hmm.
he says like he admires Red Riot because he's like a chivalrous hero and stuff like that. We only hear those words from him because we don't look at that season 2 because we don't really talk about him too much. But we learn a whole heck of a lot more about him. In Kirishima's flashback, that essentially like him and Red Riot kind of share similar personalities and they share similar motivations for why they do what they do. Um, it's like Red Riot, yeah, well not Red Riot, but I forgot his name. I'm gonna call him Red Crusader so I can figure out what his actual name is. But he
Mm-hmm.
uh he essentially essentially his quirk was like that. He was more of a shield, and I mean people thought much of him, but he made a name for himself, and he did interviews like All Might did, but he wasn't on the same like he wasn't in the higher echelon as All Might was, or heroes like Endeavor or even Eraserhead. So like he wasn't like as important of a hero, but he still had people that looked up to him. Kirishima being one of them. He it seems like to me I think Kirishima likes the more lesser flashy heroes but he suffers from the fact that he's in a class full of people who have really flashy quirks. But yeah, his admiration for him
Yeah.
is just the same as Red Riot, but I'm not sure that's going to be a detriment to Kirishima as much as it's a detriment to Deku.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. Like, you know, they're definitely very similar characters, which is kind of funny considering that they have vastly contrasting personalities. Like they're well, not vastly contrasting, but they're contrast enough to the point where you know they're two different characters all the same, even though they have the same backbone of a structure.
Yeah. I mean, Red Riot's
It's like bug me. What the heck is the name of his freaking?
big weakness, I think, over Midoriya is his lack of ability to inspire people.
Well, I don't
I
think
haven't
that.
seen Midoriya. Like the most heroic thing about Midoriya is how inspirational he is to me.
I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying like the whole inspiring thing. I think really it's only meant for people who have a presence. Because they even bring up that they even bring up like back when we got the stain when Gran Torino talked to All Might after the fallout of everything that happened down there. He said that one of the things that like he shared with All Might was that the fact he had a presence. I think like we're like essentially that whole inspiring thing is the fact that you know we're starting to see that Deku is starting to gain that presence among at least among his peers at the moment. He's gaining that presence as Bakugo's already attained that presence with the people that he surrounded himself with. I don't think Kirishima like is like I don't think he'll ever be able to inspire or at least anybody in his group. Now he probably will gain fans that he will inspire, but I don't think he'll be
He
doing
wants
that
to.
anytime soon.
He wants to be inspirational, like his hero, though. He's definitely being heroic in this scene. Like he's definitely being selfless and heroic. He's not quite as strong as Midoriya, but he's I don't know. He's a good dude. I like him.
Yeah, I like him too, and I'm just like, I mean, with the whole him inspiring people, that probably ain't gonna happen. At least not until like maybe late in his career, because like the whole him becoming a hero thing was something that he only I guess really his motivation for that is because he didn't want to regret not doing anything to help ever again, because he pretty much regretted and most likely still regrets not helping those girls in that alleyway with that gigantic villain dude, which I wonder if we're gonna see that guy again because like that's very weird that he's covered and not seen in a flashback. That's very weird to me. Like usually if it's just a one off character they're gonna show up in a flashback, you can usually see them. If they're not
Mm-hmm.
showing him, we're probably gonna see him again. Not this arc, but I almost feel like we're gonna have to see him again. Because it's very weird that they decided to have him in a cloak. Now that might just be a design choice. Maybe they didn't have a design ready for the guy, and maybe that's why he's in the cloak. But that seems kind of weird that in a flashback of a second, like a second minority character, like a character that's you know in the background. Like it's kind of weird that in his flashback he's covered. I mean, it can be explained away as that Kirishima didn't know what he looked like, so like, why should we know what he looked like? But it just seems kind of weird to me that he's cloaked, and it's just really freaking weird.
Yeah.
But on to um,
No, I'm definitely on board with that. I think there's a high possibility that he becomes a character later. I thought I was getting worried in this episode that Fat Gum was going to be the one to die. It seemed like a little bit unlikely, but like I don't know.
I don't think how that's very likely considering the way his like the secondary the secondary function of how his quirk works. Uh, as I am looking for, this is gonna bug me. I need to figure. I don't know the name of Kirishima's idol. I really don't. This is gonna bug me until I can figure out what it is. I feel like it's so simple too, and I'm just not thinking about it. Crimson Riot. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Crimson Riot. Okay, that's why I kept calling him Red Riot. Okay, well, if we're gonna go into Fat Gum and essentially Fat Gum takes the main stage for this fight in this episode. One thing I want to bring up, I did bring this up before because I kept on forgetting. In the dub, Fat Gum's voice actor is the voice actor for Gohan from Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
Yes, I heard about this earlier before Fat Gum made an appearance in the anime, but I kind of wrote it up because I wasn't like he didn't show up yet and I wasn't sure yet because I wasn't sure I was gonna watch the dub. But when I watched the dub, I hear Gohan's voice coming out of this man. I'm just like, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like,
That's a weird,
well,
a
yeah, I
weird
mean, it
role for
sounds
him to
weird.
have.
It. Granted, I would say I got used to it, so it sounds natural now. But when I first heard it, I was like, Gohan, you put on some weight. you put you put on a lot of weight, my friend. And you're wearing a jacket. What's
Gohan,
going on here?
you gotta start eating a little bit less, G-Man.
Because another thing too is that this is a hero show, and Gohan and Dragon Ball Z played the Great Saiyan man. So I guess it's kind of why they decided to pull Gohan into the English dub. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Fat Gum. We learned a little bit about him in terms of like even before the fight, we started, Fat Gum. We see that Fat Gum likes to trust people, and he trusted Sun Eater when he left him before because Kirishima wasn't too sure that Sun Eater could handle himself. But um, so we see that even beforehand, the episode beforehand, when he let Sun Eater fight on his own. Sun Eater's personality, I think he likes to believe in other people, and he pretty much knew the full potential that Sun Eater had. He just knew Sun Eater's biggest flaw, which is self confidence. Um, which is kind of cool. And in that one, in that regard, he also likes to be I guess the main hero too. He likes to be the shield because he was taking out a lot of punches with his quirk. Which, by the way, when I first read this scene in the manga several months ago, I was so convinced that he probably wasn't going to be able to win this fight. And then, then the clouds just disappear. You just see this muscular man in where Fat Gum was. And I was like, "What in the world happened?" And then you just see this glowing fist, just punching. I was like, "Oh, okay." So his quirk works differently. I did not know that. We learned that his quirk not only nullifies damage, well, not nullifies, but not only stops like physical damage, well, too much physical damage. He absorbs the blow and turns it into energy, which in return he can use and fire back at his foe, which is a very interesting way a quirk can work in this world. Essentially, you have to
I
be able
love
to
it when
take a
they
punch.
find like creative, like alternative use for their quirks like that. I think that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too. Is like how it works. Like, he takes in the punch. 'Cause I feel like we've seen this ability before in other anime, but I forgot where. Where you take in the force of a blow and turn that into energy and use it to fire back. It was freaking really cool because even before then, we saw that his hoodie was kind of coming off. So you saw that he had hair underneath there. So it's kind of a cool like little like foreshadowing that we're gonna probably see him without his hoodie on. And lo and behold, the clouds full, and we see that he has a super move, which I think is what he's really. He has an ultimate move. We
I
see
thought
one
the
of them.
hair, I thought the hair showing was more like a sign that he was getting skinnier.
Probably was what it came down to. Cause I know when granted, we see that he was converting energy from the blows that he was taking, and he was about to fire it off before Kirishima got in the way because he wasn't sure if he was able
Mm-hmm.
to convert the energy fully yet to be able to land the punch. So Kirishima jumping in the way using his unbreakable mode to slow down enemies so he could get off that punch was pretty cool. So yeah, it plays into that whole Kirishima is a true team player, and Kirishima will probably work really well as a sidekick when he first starts out before he becomes a pro hero. Which would be kind of cool. Like Kirishima can take a lot of those blows.
That's what
And
she said.
saw that coming. That's also what she said.
It is, you can't lie.
If she saw that coming, I'd be concerned. But no, moving on. I made that weird. That's my job here, making things weird since 2010. But moving on. I guess there's not really much to talk about other than like yeah, we see that as I guess like, another thing, a lot of during a lot of his fight, we kind of see that he's a brawler, But when I first saw that, I was like, how is he gonna fight? He can't be really be that strong because he can't be his punches can't be that strong. And then we see that well, at least that I saw like I was wrong because like apparently they had to have some power behind them.
Hmm.
Considering that one of his ultimate moves is him landing a punch from all his own energy he can. So essentially, if anything, Fat Gum is a loose cannon. Well, not loose cannon. He's a glass cannon. He's like a cushy wall that turns into a glass cannon. Uh, like when how the way his quirk works. So
Yeah, he only gets one shot offensively,
but it's pretty cool that that's how
basically.
his quirk works. You know, he can do that if you're ever by himself. So he was really useful in that regard. Like he definitely managed to show that he definitely earned that title pro hero. I feel like there's something else in this episode, but I can't think of it. No, I think that's what the episode ended was like Fat Gum throwing that punch, and then they're all on the floor and they're all passed out. Yeah, because I think that means that the wall goo would still be with Aizawa, Deku,
Mhm.
and Lockjaw. I think what his name is, and the glasses dude. So essentially, those are who we have left now with the group, because
Yeah,
Lumillion went off on his own. The girl from the big three is outside fighting with Uraraka and Frumpy, and we'll probably see what's happening there next episode. I think. I feel like we have to because I think we've dealt with we've been inside the maze for long enough that I think that seeing what they're doing outside would probably be worth it. Could be wrong.
yeah. No, I could see that. The yeah. Sorry.
Are you okay? Brain fart?
I think I'm a little bit okay. I'm not positive. Apparently, I'm not okay at all.
I think you had a stroke.
I think I did too. Could you call the hospital?
They're already on their way. That
I
brain
had
fart.
something I was going to say. I swear to God, I did.
Take your time.
No, it's completely dead. It's like massacred.
We're not at an hour yet. You got time.
Oh my God. Tell me more. I'm sure once you start talking again, I'll think of it.
I don't even know what I'm going to say now because like you interrupted me, and I thought you had a thought. You had a
Sorry.
profound thought. I was gonna let you
I
speak.
did for a second. It was so profound, it like just fizzled my brain cells.
It was so profound that you forgot what you're about to say. Don't you hate those? Don't you hate those thoughts you have in
No,
your
I mean,
brain?
I have never farted deep in my brain colon before.
Let's see here. I guess let's talk about the next episode. I guess we can do a little bit of like off the track talking for the next 30 minutes.
Well, what about Ishido? How did you feel about her like development?
ah,
You were talking about her a lot before the last episode, and then all of a sudden, like she's kind of the star of this one in a lot of ways. They really
okay,
really put her out there as like a cool character. You know what I mean? Like and played on her heroism in a way that like I almost felt like you knew that was going to happen because you talked about her so much last time.
well, I mean, like I said before, I read the manga for this arc, so a lot of this I already know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's why I wasn't trying to say too much about her because I still don't know much about her because
Yeah.
considering what we've seen her do up to this point, when we see her in that flashback, at least for me, I was kind of shocked that this was her personality because well, not personality, but this is what she was like in high school. I mean, middle school because yeah, she was bubbly. She was that outgoing girl. She really was the a lot of times in the girls group, she was the one that was most outspoken. She was the one that led a lot of led a lot of the antics that led to the girls doing what they did. Like I mean, the whole like the whole dorm like showing off contest they did that was her idea. So seeing
Yeah.
that she was like this, back in middle school makes a lot of sense. The
It makes
whole
sense that she's popular, but like I didn't realize how heroic they were going to go. Anything.
I don't really think it's like her being heroic. I think it's because they said at least during the flashback that she made a lot of good grades. She was athletic, so she was the popular girl in his school, and
Yeah.
they really play Kirishima as being that outcast guy. You know, the guy who try to do things, but in the end fail at it. Um, so it seems kind of weird that that's where Kirishima and her play, fell in middle school, and it's kind of cool that it looks like even though it looked like she wasn't paying attention to him, we saw throughout his
Mhm.
flashback that she was listening to a lot of what he was saying and even knew that he felt responsible for that villain attack. Went out of her way to say, well, later on went out of her way to say that I overheard how you felt and it's not your fault. Like I was scared and anybody was scared in that in that moment. But it's like it's one of those
Uh-huh.
things where it kind of plays into, as we saw Kirsten's personality, we saw her personality a little bit shine here too. She
Mhm.
essentially, she likes to help people from the looks of it. She helps her friends even though it scared her like half to death. Apparently lying to a big villain saying that leading him to the police station. She wanted to get out of there before he found out she lied to him.
Mhm.
That was pretty funny, but honestly, for her, because I know so little about her, I want to know a little bit more about her. Because it seems like they were really, she was there in the background of Kirishima's flashback. But as you said before, they were really playing her up as this heroic character. But we don't really see a lot of that when she's in high school, which I don't know what happened there. Because we have characters like Momo Yagirosa, who they focus a lot on high school and UA, and she did her thing. A lot of the female characters did their thing. I mean, Froppy had her own episode dedicated to her and her internship, and we don't even know what she was like in middle school. It's like one of those. It's like one of those weird things. It's like this just reminded me. Saying Froppy reminded me of something that I do know, and it has something to do with her backstory. So we might get something about her at some
Wow.
point. Don't know when. That just
You know what
reminded
I
me.
think is also interesting though?
But
And
Froppy's legs.
I can't believe I'm taking the topic away from. But if you compare this episode to last episode, you see another pair where you have the popular kid and unpopular kid. In this case, the popular kid is sort of indifferent, amicably indifferent to the unpopular kid, and is more like someone he's admiring from afar. Where in the last episode, the popular kid was like a big help and support to the unpopular kid. And remember in that episode, I was drawing connections between that and Bakugo and Midoriya. And so now we have three different variants of the less popular kid and someone that they look up to. With Midoriya looking up to Bakugo and Sun Eater looking up to the guy that can face through walls, whose name I can't remember, Mito.
Lumillion. You can just call him by his hero name. I think his name is Miorio, though. I think is how they pronounce it in
Mirio.
English.
But it's interesting how they've been setting up these pairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, for me, I mean, I only really became a fan of this ship with Kirishima and Asuto because
Mm-hmm.
anime typically likes to likes to pair two a male and a female character. And honestly, before I even got to this point in the story, I didn't even consider uh Kirishima and her could be a couple in the future, which I'm more for it now. But yeah, I do see she's really good at everything. He's not, but in the background, she sees that he's trying his best and goes out of
Mm-hmm.
her own way to comfort him on their first day of high school, and they hadn't seen each other for a while. So much to the point that she knows that he used to have black hair, and apparently get a little bit of like a little thing between them saying that she's going to tell them that his hair really isn't red. If she's
Yeah.
gonna do that, I don't really know. It's like one of those weird things. I guess one of those weird secrets between those two. To me, it's like
Mm-hmm.
because we got that whole like at least fans outside this fans outside pairing female and male characters together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you probably know about some of these pairings already, but like you have Deku and Uraraka. You got Todoroki, Shoto Todoroki, and Momo Yagirozo, and now you got Kirishima and
Mm-hmm.
Ashido. Another pairing that am not a huge fan of, but I could see working is Bakugo and Uraraka. I only see that pairing working because Bakugo has respect for her, so it'd be one of those things like you think you'd be a dick to her, But in reality, I can see that working out in a really weird way. Explosions and zero gravity.
Female pairing for Bakugo is an interesting.
Well, I mean, the Uraraka, but there's also another pairing that I saw that I actually am kind of for a little bit. And it's mainly because I kind of like her because they don't talk about her at all, and she's there, but she's also not there, but not as bad as Invisible Girl. Kyoka, the girl with the earphones. Um, a lot of people up, yeah. There's actually been pairings about with her and him. Uh, they also pair her with the Kaminari, the guy with the electrical abilities. They also pair her with him. But something in the future, because before I started reading, I got to that point and I was kind of shocked that this happened. But
does it have to be Class A that he's paired with?
I don't really know if anybody in Class B or even anybody really. It is really a girl that could be with him. Honestly,
what about the one with big hands? She's pretty level-headed and could keep him in control, and she's smart enough for him.
She's got big hands.
I'm sorry. Or the gadget girl. I could see Bakugo grudgingly accepting her help.
I guess
the same way that Vegeta kind of accepts help from Bulma.
I mean, I guess if we're gonna pull the whole Bakugo and Vegeta parallel, I guess she could be the Bulma parallel. But like,
if you think about it, like, couldn't you see Bakugo saying something obnoxious and her being so focused on her gadgets she didn't even notice and it just bounced right off of her?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against the pairing. I just had to think about it and see those two interact a little bit more. But they actually haven't even been on the screen at the same time and interacted. Like the only time we know that he even talked to her was during the provisional exam, because we see that he had like mini grenades with his sweat in it, and we know he didn't make that himself. So we definitely know that came from the gadget girl.
But couldn't you see something like her being like, I found a way to, instead of it making explosions, we're going to make it, we're going to slow burn it and make energy from it, and now you can power shocks and make long distance attacks that way, and like now that we've figured out a way to convert it to an energy source rather than just fiery explosions, you know what I mean? Like you're going to be able to do a lot more with it and like power your quirk in like whole new ways. And him being like too smart to like mess up a good thing by being a dick about it, and her like not even noticing when he is a dick because she's so fascinated with the different ways to use his quirk.
Yeah, I mean, I see the benefits of those two being a couple, even just actually just being partners and whatnot, and her making stuff for him. I see that because she's already kind of helped him already with the mini grenades. So it's just one of those things. Like, yeah, I see that's a possibility. I didn't really think about it because we don't really see her a lot, even though we know she's there. We just don't really see her a lot. And I wish I honestly for that I like to see more of her, just to see her personality, because we don't really know truly what she's like. We know that she's eccentric. We know that for a fact. But it seems like she's also a hard worker too. But we don't really see that side of her. We just see that kooky, insane. Let me build something to help you out, but it's gonna end really hurt you in the end. So like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that could work for Bakugo, because I mean, like, he has explosions, and honestly, he does need, as the whole idea of making more powerful projectiles. Bakugo doesn't really have many of the many that he does have projectile wise. It seems like the one thing he can do is throw a fireball. Even then, he needs to sweat a lot to do that in the first place.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, I could see her seeing like an almost endless amount of possibilities for things. Quirk, I could see her being like, we can harness your explosions this way to help you fly, and we can use your quirk as fuel for an improved combustion engine, and you can power this mecha suit, and you know what I mean. And her being,
I see the gags that would be funny. I mean, honestly, if it just for the gags alone, I mean, yeah, that'd be worth it. I mean, just for the gags alone, but it's just one of those things where, like, I want
And then,
to before I commit to pairing them together like that in a romantic way. At least I have to see more of her personality. I mean,
and
there
we
isn't
see
much.
like him getting really pissed off at her for like insisting on suits and things like that he wears
Yeah, I'm
because
pretty
she's
sure. I
like,
mean, that'd be funny. I mean, that'd be really
yeah,
hilarious seeing that, seeing that happen. I mean, yeah, I'm not sitting there
yeah,
denying that the possibilities aren't funny, but it's like thinking about it in a serious way and maybe taking it like if they were to pair them together before they do that. I at least
oh,
want to see. I like to see her. I want to see more of her personality before we do that because at least we know. At least with the big hand girl, we've seen her enough to the point we know what she's like. And I don't think there's many more like layers to her. But I think there's a lot of layers to that nut. Like I don't know what's up with her. There is definitely layers to her that we have not seen. Not in a perverted
mm,
way. Uh, so it's just one of those things where like there's definitely some mystique to her, and I want to know a little bit more about her. But because we don't see her a lot, it's one of those things where like that's why I don't really consider pairing her with anybody because she's not seen that much. I haven't forgotten about her, but it's just one of those things where like if on the main of the female characters we do know of, she's probably the last on the list. I mean, you can make the argument with her and Tinya Ida because I mean she already like made him a walking billboard.
right.
So if anything, if you wanted to make the argument that like her being a funny side gag character, love interest, I'd say that's probably for her more. I'd be more willing to put her with Tinya just because of the interaction they already had.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's one of those things like, and Bakugo's pretty hard to put into a pairing like that he's because he's Bakugo. Really, like, if putting him with a girl, it'd be a really hard thing to do because you have to figure out what girl could even stand him for more than a couple seconds. But
That's why I said her because she wouldn't even notice. But
yeah, I mean that's true. I mean she's so believes to her own mission, like, it probably will work. Uh,
I don't know who else would be as good as her.
I think Kyoko would be kind of cool because she has a no nonsense attitude when you do see her.
What's that one?
Earphone jack.
I guess so. I feel like your earphone jack doesn't have patience for crap like that. I'm looking at some of the other characters to see who else.
I mean, the people who pair Uraraku with her, like I'm pulling Uraraku with him. I'm like, I mean, she's goofy half the freaking time. Like, but like she managed. To, like
I don't
I
think
say that.
Uraraka is a good one though. I just don't see it.
I mean, he respected her in a fight like that. I mean, honestly, if a female character can get Bakugo to be serious, and it happens to be her of all people, it's one of those things where like, I feel like at least it seems like to me like at that point he has enough respect for her that he wouldn't be a total douche.
I
Um,
guess so.
so it's one of
I
those
don't know.
things.
I think the one with big hands is the next most good choice because she's assertive, she's smart, she wouldn't let him get away with anything. She could put him in his place. She's just as good a tactician as he is. Um, I mean, she's a redhead, so it'd be kind of cool to see the two of them next to each other.
I never considered her hair color. I'm asked the one thing you say. I never really even looked at her haircut. I didn't even notice that she was a redhead.
Yeah.
I guess that's why she's hot. Cause no, I'm dead serious. Whenever I see her, I'm like, man, she's attractive for a high schooler. What's going on here? And then like, you say she's a redhead. I'm like, oh, that explains it. I like redheads. That's the truth matter. I like redheads actually. So it's just
That's awesome.
it's when I was like, that is really weird. Why is she so attractive? I was like, for a high school girl, why is she so attractive?
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna incriminate myself here. It's like I just I really sat there. I'm like, what really was bugging me in the back of my mind too. It wasn't one of those things where I was constantly thinking about it. Like, why is she so why does she look attractive? But then you bring up the
Yeah.
redhead. I'm like, oh, that explains it right there. I'm biased. I'm very biased.
Anyway, she'd be my other choice. I think she could possibly keep him in check. But I think she'd be a better choice than Uraraka. Uraraka is just as strong minded as she is. but she's too soft. Like, you need someone that can just be like, just call him out while still being level-headed enough to not provoke him.
Yeah, she's soft. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
gonna move on. I'm gonna move.
Rock is a little too nice for Bakugo. So,
I guess.
what about the one with vines for hair? I forget what her personality was like. She was like super like far out, wasn't she?
She was more like, I guess, the goody two shoes Mary Sue type of character. Like she
Yeah.
like if anything, and I hate to do this to her, but if you had to pair her with anybody, probably you probably see where I'm going with this, but Mineta.
Are you kidding me?
No, hear me out. I say this because from what I remember of her, she seemed like the type of character that like those church girls that that grow up in the church and then they get out from under their parents' thumb and they become really crazy. Like they have a really they're really into some crazy sexual stuff. I feel like that kind of would be her. I feel
why don't we hook Mineta up with that rated X hero?
You mean Midnight?
Yeah.
I thought I don't no. No, I think she's too crazy even for him.
Mineta and Mount Lady?
He wouldn't go near her after the last internship he had with her.
I feel like he would hike that peak.
Yeah, he probably wanted to mount that lady, but at the same time, she wouldn't let him. She literally had him be her slave in her apartment. If you remember that. So I don't think he would go near her.
See, she keeps him in check.
You just like these crazy parodies where these people are constantly beating down on these guys. That's what you like. That's what you're going for.
Well, you're picking out people with really difficult personalities, and yeah, I would tend to pick a really strong-minded character for someone with a difficult personality.
I get that, but at the same time, I just feel like to me that there's more to that Vine chick, and that's kind of why I would pair her with him because I feel like she isn't all 100% good, and like she might have a crazy sadistic personality with her, and it seems like the type of character that you do that with. You know, she might have a dual personality. And considering that she has vines and everything, and it seems like Mineta likes to restrain chicks, to me, it's like it just seems like to me.
What a dark place you have traveled to, sir.
Mineta's a dark character. For crying out loud, like I watched people's reviews of the show, and like people brought up like one of Mineta's special moves could be, and it's really sad to say this because I think they even have a scene with him with his balls stuck together. Somebody literally said that he's got anal beads in his hand.
What about the?
I'm just like, my goodness, why is he gotta be that character?
What about Mineta and that villain that steals your blood?
That would
the
be
blonde
what
one.
that'd be funny to see. But here's how I see that progressing. They get together, and that is all into it, and then she cuts him, starts drinking his blood, then turns into him. That would probably where he would draw the line.
I don't know. The king runs deep with that one.
Dear God. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a king rod inside her. Dear God. I see that working only for 2 months. That's really what I see that working. Because she's crazy.
I think those two would be a fun match, though. I would pair those two together.
It'd be funny to see that work out. But first of all, she's crazy. And that chick has layers of crazy. Numerous layers of crazy. I see Mineta being able to peel back at those layers. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think Mineta's ready for that kind of crazy.
It doesn't matter. She'll just stay on him. She's obsessive.
Yeah, that's probably the worst part with her. If she were to move on, her
obsession. Like that would be perfect. Like he'd be like in the shower and he'd look up and she'd be like leaning over the shower curtain at the top and going hi with like a knife in her hand, and he'd be like ah, and she'd chase it after.
I just feel like she's too crazy even for him.
She's like, it's 2 weeks, honey. It's been too much of a dry spell.
Oh dear God, she would be that crazy chick. She get pregnant and she's like, I missed my cycle. It was like, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, that's too many dark alleyways for her. I'm gonna move on from that.
she would just prey on him, and he'd half like it and half be terrified of her.
There'd be scenes of him sleeping in bed. And he wake up in the morning and she's sucking him off.
Oh my God.
but besides that, he'd just wake up and he'd just be bleeding everywhere. He'd be like, "Honey, what'd you do last night?" I said I was in the foreplay, but not like this.
Oh my God, Jeremy.
You started this. You live with the mess you made. You live with the mess you made. I think with that,
gotta admit, though, I've been picking some good pairings.
I'm still for. Yeah, I admit. Yeah, they're pretty good pairs, but I'm still for Kyoka and Bakugo. But I want to say that like the main reasoning behind that is something later. So I'm not gonna really get into. I'm not gonna get into that. But I'm just saying, like, I'm for that pairing because I think it'd be kind of cute for those two to be with each other for some reasons. But like, that's really the only real reason. Like
what about Kyoka? You're from Jack, right?
Yeah.
What about her and Red Riot?
I don't know.
No,
I don't think that would work. I really don't think that would work. But actually, no, take that back. I mean, that'd be interesting, kind of considering. I just don't know how that would work. Cause like Kyoka seems more indifferent, like more of an indifferent badass, and then like it seems like Red Riot's just that loser in the group. But at the same time, it's like that could work. I mean, losers and different chicks usually tend to work anyway. I mean, look at Deku no Uraraka.
Oh God,
I'm sorry.
Who cares about him?
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry.
Who are we gonna pair Froppy with?
Yeah, that's the one I was having a hard time with. I'll leave that with you. I don't know. I mean, Tail Guy, but I don't know how you feel about that.
Tail Guy? No, Tail Guy's too vanilla, I think, for her.
I'm sorry, when you say he's too vanilla, I said Vanilla Ice. Oh, dear God.
Oh my God.
I mean, there aren't that many. Well, no, what about Froppy and Tsukiyami? The guy with the bird head.
Yeah.
The guy with the bird head.
That's too cliche.
Why is that cliche? Because the animals?
Because they just stuck the two animal characters together, yeah.
I mean, Froppy and Mineta, but you hate that.
Froppy and the Invisible Girl, I decided.
That'd be the weirdest. That'd be the weirdest lesbian relationship ever.
Well, did you know that frogs can change their gender?
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't want that to be her power. I don't want that to be her power. I don't want that to be her power. I'm laying that on the line right now. I don't need her or want her to change gender. Because she was originally planned to be male and then he changed that. So stick with her being female. I don't need to see a male frog. I really don't. Considering the way they designed Froppy, like, Jesus Christ.
I'm having a really tough time thinking of a match for Froppy right now.
I don't think the thing is like Tsukiyami will work, but not just
all
for
the matches I'm finding are female. To be honest with you, like all the matches I'm thinking of that might work.
Well, that's the thing is like I don't. The problem is she hasn't been seen with many characters, and the characters she has been seen with, there hasn't been any real chemistry with her other than with Tsukiyami. But the chemistry that only existed there was because she complemented his fighting style and his personality well enough, to the point that she was well balanced. And that may be the problem with her. She's very well balanced. She doesn't really have many like unlike other characters, they get bounced off of each other. She doesn't really have a character she get bounced off with now, unless you pair her with a female character. But that's the other thing. We don't know what her preference is. Great, so we don't really know her any preference really for any character. We just assume that some characters are into the opposite gender. But I don't know. Maybe she is the one lesbian character in the series, and if she is, that's interesting. I don't really know though.
Well, if that's the case, though, seriously, I think probably Invisible Girl or the one with the hair. Again, the hair for vines.
But well, hear me out with Tsukiyomi though. I mean, but putting the animal motifs aside,
Mm-hmm.
um, I really do think that that could work mainly because it's one of those things where they really do balance out each other even with how well balanced Sue is. She was able to
Mm-hmm.
keep Tsukiyami during their fight, as you saw when they had their during their fight with the dude with the ectoplasm when they had the fight with him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the main reason they paired her with him is because she was level headed and Tsukiyomi was not. Uh,
Yeah.
to me, it seemed like that was a really good pairing, considering that it seemed generic couple. I guess in a sense, you had to have that generic couple in there. And as unfortunate it is for Froppy to be a generic couple, because I do like her a lot. Uh, it worked for her because she was able to keep Tokiyami down, like Earth level, and she had versatile abilities. She's got good leg strength. She can hop around. As far as I can tell, she shut up, Jock. Shut up, Jock.
No, I'm just listening. I'm just being an active, engaged listener.
Yeah, I know you lied when I said good leg strength. She's capable. I don't think she's just grounded to the water or the ground. I feel like she's very. She could be probably very mobile in a pinch. She could probably hop around like a quick second off of walls and whatnot. To me, she's probably like the most. Besides Bakugo, she probably has the. Damn it, Jock.
Sorry.
Damn it, Jock. She. Damn it.
Tsukiyami's the bird-faced one, right?
Yes.
I'd rather pair him with the one who can create things from her body.
Nah, I don't think that work. I'm more for Shoto and her being together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I think that pairing of any pairing of the Freaking Show, I think that's the one that works the best, honestly.
Show the martial artist one.
No, Shoto's the own icy hot
Oh,
because they've interacted the most.
yeah.
They've interacted the most. He's helped her increase her motivation and her
I think
her view of
Shoto
herself.
with earphone jack before I put her with her, but okay.
Why Kyoka? Why her?
Because she just seems clever in the same way and like complicated in the same way.
That's because we really don't know much about her. I just think because the interactions that they've already had with each other. I'm mostly thinking about
Mm-hmm.
characters that have interacted with each other already, and they've already kind of had good chemistry. And as far as
Yeah,
I
they
can
just.
tell, like she and him have actually had the most interaction with each other.
Mm, I don't see it. I don't see the connection with those two. I think he's too angsty for her. She's really balanced, except for feelings of insecurity, and she's always struggling with that part of herself, like where she's always struggling to overcome her sense of insecurity and her need to overachieve.
But
And I
Toto,
feel like,
Todoroki is also insecure. He still has yet to deal with his problems with his father. He still got to deal with
yeah,
that. So they both have similar like
he's
levels of
he's
problems.
more haunted, where she's more like she doesn't seem to have any darkness in her past. Like she's, but it's like her upbringing puts a constant pressure on her to always be at her best and always be like striving to push herself farther. And like her insecurity is more like that she's got to be the best possible, where he's like more dealing with inner demons and stuff. And that's what I see with Todoroki too, the bird guy. Like he always has to keep himself in check because his shadow could go out of control. You know what I mean? And he seems to be sort of someone that like doesn't settle for anything less than his best too. And they seem like they share that bond of like being really excellent people that like constantly feel this pressure to never let themselves relax. You know what I mean? To never let themselves stop being like in that on mode. So I could see the two of them relating on that level.
I guess for me, it's like if some of the parents you've already said. I mean, that'd be interesting. But I guess what I'm looking for when I pair someone, I was like, I'm looking for the fact they've already interacted. Now the fact that they had to interact is not a prerequisite at all by any means. But for
Yeah.
me, it's a lot easier to if they've already talked or done something together in the
Mm-hmm.
show. that like at least that way I have a point of reference. That's kind of like why with Bakugo and like in with the whole pairing of Bakugo and that Gear girl, yeah,
Mhm.
like, the possibilities are freaking hilarious. But for me, because they've never interacted, at least on screen, because we know
Yeah.
they've had to interact to get those grenades. So I know he's at least talked to her at least once.
Yeah.
Um, I like to see that. I like to see the interaction someplace else, like on screen. I like to see if they do bounce off each other. Because if that is definitely the case, yeah, I'm all for
Hmm.
Bakugo being with her because it's like it'd just be hilarious. I mean,
Hmm.
imagine that household when they're married.
I think they'd be fantastic as a couple. Well, I'll give you one more couple before I stop this. So, what's the pink girl's name again?
Ashido, you told him to go with the acid.
Yeah, the pink one with the acid skin, Ashido. What about pairing her with the guy that eats sugar for his strength?
I forgot about him. I forgot all about the guy with the animal. Well, the Billy talks to animals, but
Yeah,
pairing her with him, huh? Um,
they're both kind of over the top, positive, like big personality characters.
yeah, but I feel like that would get in the way in a relationship because each one of them be trying to outdo the other one. And it seems like
But
to
they don't.
me
Neither of them are particularly competitive
that we've seen. Um,
that we've seen.
I don't know. It just seems like to me to like Ashido.
They both kind of keep it real, and they're both like not really. They just both kind of keep it real. Like they both kind of like present to the world. They both seem similarly humble. They both seem similarly like a little bit daft sometimes. You know what I mean? Like not
Yeah,
coming across as
I
the
get that,
smartest or
but
most complicated.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely similarities. I mean, they both have kind of like a wrestling superhero outfit. But
And they
for
both are kind of everyman kind of character.
for me though, I guess for that to work, I would need still to interact with each other. And the only real interaction I've seen with them, and it's funny that this is the one interaction I remember them having is that same episode because she was the one who initiated the contest. Um, that the only interaction I've ever seen between those two is when there was a cake involved.
Uh-huh.
So if anything, I think that'd probably be the one thing. Echo, um, that'd be the only reason that would work is because he can cook and maybe she can't cook. I don't really know. Uh,
She doesn't strike me as the type that can cook.
huh?
She doesn't strike me as the type that can cook.
Yeah, she probably burned the freaking pan with her acid. But but yeah, that's the only real interaction I've seen, and that's the only way I would think that would work. That is Echo is getting on my nerves.
I don't know why it's happening. I haven't changed anything.
Well, that's a good, I guess, a good sign for us to end here. But yeah, I think that would work only in my mind, only because of the whole food thing. Because it's a typical
Mhm.
Japanese thing that girls like sweets, so that's the only real connection I see those two have, and the wrestling outfit.
She seems like the type of girl that would be down for falling for someone over some sweets too.
I mean, she probably already did. I don't know. I mean, I liked her. I like her idea of her and Kirishima because I mean they've already met. They know each other. They have a past. But
Yeah, after she ate the cake, she came back up later on and she was like, "You gave me some sugar. Now it's time for me to give you some."
oh dear God. Before I end this, I know this is gonna be really weird thing to end it all, but just imagine her squirting, and they're gonna end it off from there.
Oh my god.
See you guys next episode. Dear God, there's probably already some fat art of her doing that too.